done for me lately? It's Coons. What have y'all done for us lately? And if there's no answer, the only thing we owe them.
Hey, good evening. Welcome everyone. It's been a minute, and I'm I'm glad that Dr. Short, who's joining us tonight, uh, told me make sure that I watch the Michael biopic. He actually told me twice, and I told him I was going to watch it, and I finally watched it. Dr. Short is here, and we're going to have a conversation. For those of you that may have seen the biopic, tell us your thoughts. Tell us what you thought about it, how you feel about it. Um, Dr. Short didn't tell me about it. He didn't spoil it for me, but you know, I absolutely loved it. And I'm not a biopic on. I'm one of them people that when you do a biopic on someone, I actually like when people tell me the whole story, everything. I want to know everything. I want to know everything, and you better not leave out anything historical. I'm gonna be pissed off, but I absolutely loved it. I made sure I told Dr. Short yesterday immediately. I said I loved it. It was great. So tonight, me and him gonna have a conversation in reference to it. Like I said, join in. I see what you said, BB Black Bray. You loved the movie. What's up, Dr. Short?
Oh man, I feel so wonderful. I'm being represented properly.
So
Jafar's
the,
done a great job. I was number one around the world. I was at the top of the charts where I belong. I am great. I have worked very hard. That's how I feel. Yeah.
so it was so the biopic. A lot of people were upset because it didn't explain everything, but it basically was his time with the Jackson Five, his brothers, all the way to the time he went on the Bad tour, and that was '88, I believe.
Yeah,
The Bad.
88.
So a lot of people feel like, oh, they left out a lot of stuff. They left out controversies and all this other stuff. But when you look at the reality of it, was it really controversies with Michael Jackson, Dr.
The
Short? Like,
film this film itself, no. No, this is a feel good film.
hmm
It's a feel good biopic. And that's the reason. Well, there's a lot going on with it, but you know, uh, if I had felt better, I would have gone to see it a fifth time today.
wow.
So maybe I'll do it. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I'll go in and see it again. We have this Alamo Theater, so you can buy a movie pass.
hmm
And when you have a movie pass, you get a free ticket every day. I I had already seen it three times before I got the movie pass.
Wow.
And so I
Wow.
enjoyed it. It made me feel quite good. I know a whole lot about Michael Jackson. We we're cool. I mean, Michael Jackson was great.
I
He
think
was
that
great.
one of the things that for me that I really took out of it, and I when I called you and I told you was Joe Jackson. You know, a lot of people felt as though that the father was hard on his kids and he beat them and it was abuser. And it was so funny in the film if you look at it that all she kept and was focused on was, you know, the family, focus on the family. Even though he knew that Michael was different, she still tried to explain to Michael, don't forget about your family. And even though they didn't explain it in the film, but if you ever look at even to today, you know, it may be some family members that may be upset about this, that, and the third, but they really do a great job. Some of them with protecting his legacy, protecting the imagery of Michael, and don't be, you know, these weird allegations that's always been around him that have never been proven. They do a great job with trying to protect that, and I like the way it came off in the film that he always focused on the family.
Well, that's true. And even now, nobody's starving, but not everybody's doing as great
Mm.
as Michael did. So he's got some brothers struggling. So the father was correct that don't leave your brothers behind.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So I really enjoyed it, man. Like I said, Dr. Schill, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Usually, you see these
I, I
biopics, and you
told
know,
I have I ever referred you to a movie, a documentary? Yes, but a
no,
movie?
no, it's
No.
usually documentaries. You always tell me to watch
Right.
certain documentaries.
Right. Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask you. I know that what's funny is you get this. This is one of them type of biopics because of who he is, where all of these movie critics will get the advanced screening and they'll have their say about it, but the movie is actually doing incredible in theaters.
Mhm.
Is this one of those type of movies that instantly goes to like the a classic, even past the five heartbeats? Because remember, the five heartbeats didn't do great in
The,
the
the,
movies, but it did great on videotape.
the, and DVD and so forth. This is going to be a cult film. It's already one.
Okay, okay, yeah, because a whole generation really don't even know who Michael was. Don't
But
understand.
beyond the lies and the attacks, they've been hearing this steadily for 30 years.
Yeah.
People don't even really know who Mike. They know about the kids and leaving never. They have been burying this man, shitting on his grave for 17 years and
Mm.
won't stop. And yet we've got pedophiles, some of them in very high places, walking around. People won't even go and investigate their records on pedophiles and human trafficking all over this country. And yet people trying to prosecute Michael Jackson posthumously. It's insane. So people needed to know the music, know something about him. It didn't get everything. So much was left out. But let's deal with this. Because I'm going to tell you something. Uninformed, ill-informed, unexposed, powerless people see things differently from how they actually are. And let me translate that in more simple terms. If you've never made a movie, never been involved in a movie, never had to deal with the legality of making a movie when you have big name people, and you think you know something about what goes into making a film, and you criticize someone's work but you've never done it yourself, you know, it's like a person who only plays golf wanting to talk about basketball.
Mm.
And the reason I'm saying that is you have 2 hours. How can you in 2 hours deal with all the stuff going on with Michael Jackson, even some of it. They left out huge amounts of things. They gave a super abbreviated period of time with his brothers. I mean, they
Hmm.
left out lots and lots. That film didn't really have as much music as it could have had. It had very little music relative to how many records Michael had out.
I know one of the things you shared with me was, um, you know, it explained it went to it in the film a little bit, but most people didn't know what it was when this performance. But you remember the time. It's funny I used that phrase on one of his albums. But you remember the exact time when these black American kids was on the Ed Sullivan Show and the significance of being on the Ed Sullivan Show. You want to speak on that?
Yes. Ed Sullivan's show was the biggest show for decades in American television, like one of the biggest shows. And Ed Sullivan went out of the way to promote Black artists. There's a documentary on Ed Sullivan. I think it's called Sunday's Best. I think you can catch it on Amazon Prime or Netflix. It's called Sunday's Best. And it talks about Ed Sullivan. He's a white guy, started off writing sports, and he's a critic and whatever. He had some relationship with show business. He ended up getting a Pioneer TV show, and he liked jazz. He knew about how badly Black artists were treated, and he did what he could do to help build up a lot of people he liked that were Black in the music and entertainment and sports. When Sugar Ray Robinson didn't have any money, he would let him come on his show and dance to keep him out in front of the public. A lot of Black folks had thrown him away. Now, so Sullivan's show is the equivalent of Coachella. If you made it to the Ed Sullivan Show, you had a great chance of having million-selling records, and it was a career-defining move, a career-making move for you to get on Ed Sullivan. A lot of people who like Motown and like a lot of the Black old-school artists, a lot of them, we need to understand that Black people getting on TV really, really didn't take off until the very late 60s, early 70s. There were Black people on television, but a lot of the images weren't that cool.
Mm.
They weren't that cool. And even if movies were halfway realistic, halfway dealt with Black issues, that stuff may be shown one time and made to disappear. A good example, anybody who wants to can look for a film called The Liberation of L.B. Jones. It was a super controversial film about a Black doctor or dentist, it was one or two, whose wife was screwing a white policeman, played by Lee Majors, the $6 Million Man character before he was the $6 Million Man. And they ultimately killed the doctor and put his dick in his mouth and hang him to shut him up because he wouldn't be silent about his wife mess with the white dude because she got pregnant. And I've been trying to get my hands on a copy of that film for years. It came on TV maybe, I think the last time I can recall it, it came on television in 1974. I've never heard of it for mass access in 52 years. It came out late 60s, I think 67. And you can't find it. Certain Black films, almost anything, that film, The Spook That Sat by the Door, was in theaters for maybe a week and it was out and you didn't even see it on TV. It's never come on TV in America. Goodbye Uncle Tom was out for about a week and it's never run on television. If you have anything on Black folks, if it wasn't a certain type of thing, you didn't get to see it, or you'd have to live in New York, Philly, Chicago. You have to be in a very big Black city and limited release. That's just in the cinema. And I can just tell people that years after Michael Jackson them debuted on the Ed Sullivan Show, when Roots was on national television, the people in Mississippi took Roots off the air in the middle of the showing.
Wow.
Okay. That's not that long ago that they decide what you're going to see and when you can see it, and just make it all disappear. We said so, that's that. Ed Sullivan's show was different. And so you always saw Black people that, that were good, and they got showcased. Diana Ross, The Temptations, Smokey Robinson, Gladys Knight, Martha and the Vandellas, Diane Carroll, Leslie Uggams, Barbara McNair, the Four Tops. If you had a really talented Black artist, they could get to Sullivan, and that would help their careers. So the Sullivan Show was like what MTV was in the 80s. And what Coachella and some of these other things are now, or Versus is now. So let me see. It would have been in December 69, on a Sunday that, and it's rare since my dad was a fanatical preacher, and Sundays typically meant we left the house about 6:30 or 7 in the morning and got back 12 midnight the next day. That's how long we were in church. I can remember it because that's one of the few Sundays I can even remember where we weren't in church all day. In fact, I don't think we went to church at all on that specific day that the Michael Jackson 5 family on the Ed Sullivan Show. And I can remember playing on the floor in the sitting room, and my mother calling me saying, "Randy, come and see this." And that would have never happened had my father been there. The television would have been turned off. My father would just switch. So we would have never seen it had my father been home. That would have been turned off immediately. And that's my introduction to Michael Jackson. It's December 1968. And it blew our minds how good they were. And if I was 4 and Michael Jackson, they're saying he's like 8 years old, that although he would have been 10, you're just absolutely shocked at how good he was, how good they were. And a lot of people saw that, and people were talking about this new group. And you need to understand that 69 is literally just a few weeks before the Jacksons were on the Ed Sullivan Show. The Chicago Police Department had massacred Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. People have no idea how bad things were. Nixon was president. They were Black folk were in a situation, but that was really nice. And their clothes were different, all of that. It was cool. And so that record was a top 10 record in December 68. It zoomed like to number 1 just about, I think, just the beginning of 1970s. So the decade started off with the Jackson 5s with the number 1 record. And then they had one after the other. And all their albums did well. They were on TV on all the big shows. they had, and the licensing back then, uh, the merch, we say merch today, back then it would be licensing. The Jackson 5 for black people, people need to understand there used to be like a tobacco called nigger hair,
Mm.
and they changed it to bigger hair. I mean, we used to have products that had racist names on it. Literally, you would see them in the store. To see how that changed quickly, but understand that imagine nigger hair tobacco or something like that, and you see licensing for Jackson 5 lunch boxes, Jackson 5 games, Jackson 5 posters. It was something that people were proud of.
Did
It
they
was
did
something
they did they take over, like, not just with Black America? What? How did White America fell in love with the Jackson Five immediately?
that's part of the problem. I don't think people would have cared had they just been a group that reached black audiences. They could care less about that. But you have these boys dancing, turning out white girls. They're going to grow up to be men, and these girls are going to grow up and want to screw these guys. And so it's fun, but you know where that's going. If these girls worship, they're going to want to screw these guys like they screw any celebrity. So these guys were a threat of five talented, nice looking black. Let me see. Jackie was about 18. He's on his way to manhood. Um, what do you think's going to happen with that? And they came out. They started promoting lots of different family groups. The Osmonds. They
Mm.
were pushing Bobby Sherman, the Partridge Family. They had lots of people coming out of the wood. They needed something to take the focus off of these five boys from Gary. And
Mm.
and Gary is it's not just a predominantly black city. It's one of the first cities in the Midwest or in the country to have a black mayor. Okay. And Gary is like a symbol of black power. They had their Black Power Conference in 1972. Mayor Hatcher, someone I met, my movement uncle was very tight with Hatcher, wrote up all his stuff. Uh, You have to understand certain people looking on high say this is a problem. So they were very popular. Their first records were number one soul R&B, number one pop. Nobody has done that since their first four records, and all of them selling in excess. I think I'll be there sold like 5 million copies, and their albums did well. And I mean, before you know it, they had cartoons. So on Saturday morning, you could see uh, black images in cartoon. There was never a black cartoon before that, and I don't really think there are many now.
Wow.
Imagine then. Imagine 50 plus years ago.
Mm.
They went to England. They took England by storm. They went to Africa, took Africa by storm. Everywhere they went, they their Christmas album released in December 1970 did so well. It would have been a number one album in the United States. None of their other albums, Diana Ross Presents, ABC, third album, right? None of those went to number one. They were in the top five, but they did go to number one. Their Christmas album sold so well. However, the charts for Billboard didn't allow you to count holiday records on the Billboard Hot 200 for LPs, long playing records. So imagine a black group getting a number one album with Christmas music. That's crazy. That Mariah Carey has one song, her out. She didn't go to number one with her Christmas album. That's one of the best-selling Christmas albums of all times. So I mean that's an incredible year from December 1969 to December 1970. They burnt the whole country up. American Bandstand, all of it. And people kept calling it a phenomenon, calling it bubblegum soul and all that, but people were buying it.
Bubblegum soul.
Yes. You had to find some way to put it down. You don't call white country music rot gut music, or
No.
you don't.
No.
So
Wow.
and they drink half the songs about drinking. So it was phenomenal to see them, and they got better each year. So I can remember them being on Carol Burnett. They had the Going Back to Indiana TV show. That never been a a television show featuring and showcasing young Black men that did very well.
Let me ask you, because they didn't show this in the show, and you lived this time. I mean, this is something that you witnessed literally. Was it any fear that Michael would grow out of his voice as basically a young star, and like, okay, when he get older, he ain't gonna have that voice no more?
That's always an issue. Michael's voice began to change about 72. Mhm.
Wow.
But he got through. And what's this? A movie, Ben, a number one record. And it got to the point, I'm gonna just tell you, I don't believe that Never Can Say Goodbye and Mama's Pearl weren't number one records. Cashbox, I think, had Never Can Say Goodbye, number one record, but Billboard didn't. Back then, nowadays, I think they've been using SoundScan, where you can trace the actual purchase of a record.
Yeah.
Back then, you'd call the white record store owner and ask him what's selling. His staff may have brought in Black records and didn't tell him to keep people coming in the store.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked him about, how's Michael Jackson doing? We're not doing anything here. Why would he know?
Wow.
So you look at stuff like, there wasn't a really truly fair accounting of how well they were doing all the time. In particular, once they had the 4 number one records in a row, then the next 2 records stalled at number 2. That's not how that goes. But understand something. Not only did they call the record store owners, but they judge how big your hit is by airplay, which is interesting because you can have all the airplay in the world. If you're not selling records, you're not. So you can have a person who's got their records playing in Utah and South Dakota, Idaho, Montana on 50,000 watt stations. And yet you can have someone selling records all up and down the East Coast, West Coast, Gulf Coast, Chicago, right? But are on smaller stations. And yet that person that's on the stations out in the mountains, they get records played in those areas too, but not as much. But you know what? They'll say, well, Brother Q's records aren't being played on the air in the western half of the country. So we're going to give the number one record to the group that's being played everywhere.
Mm. And I'm quite sure back then payola was really, really
well,
big.
Payola's still here, but here's the issue again. You know the song Dancing Machine.
Mm-hmm.
but you may not remember the group that had the number one record that kept Dancing Machine out of the number one spot. Let me tell you what that is, because they're two Jackson 5 records that I think should have been number one because they were that big. And you'll be amazed at some of these people who you're told are big artists because they're being pushed by the larger companies. Remember, they're on Motown. People are hostile to Black record companies. Don't want to play your record. If you saw the movie, you saw that MTV didn't care how big the record was. You were Black, we're not going to play it. And they were measuring the popularity of groups by MTV, and you're systematically blocked by your color. How is it fair?
Mm. So the Osmond brothers was then around. That's what Earth Angel said, the Osmond brothers.
Okay, let me give you an example. When Mama's Pearl was released, do you know which record kept them out of the number one spot?
What?
One Bad Apple by the Osmond brothers. So white boys imitating the Jacksons for a song that Barry Gordon and them would not give to the Jacksons because they only wanted they wanted to control the publishing and get the money. Mama's Pearl came in second place to One Bad Apple. Who listens to One Bad Apple today? Nobody. Nobody. Right?
So these was
Nobody.
the games that was even going on within Motown.
Well, Motown should have let them record the record. I can think of another number one record that Motown turned down called A Lover's Concerto, sung by the Toys. That song was offered to the Supremes and they refused it. So they had another group sing it. It went right to number one, and it was in the style of the Supremes. Barry and them wanted all the publishing. They were greedy. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
Never Can Say Goodbye. Another record should have gone to number one. Okay. And what they did was they blocked it.
Wow.
So it gets to number Joy to the World. Nobody's listening to Joy to the World today. Three Dog Night, you don't even remember them. Never Can Say Goodbye sold 1.2 million copies in its first week of release. Joy to the World didn't sell like that. But they're white and they're being played on the white stations that don't, it's called what, rock formatted? AOR, this album oriented rock. So they would change the radio formats and punish Black artists by, if, for example, when Motown and Atlantic and Stax, initially the record stations were largely AM and AM formatted radio. Towards the latter end of the 60s, people started to become FM. A lot of the FM stations didn't want to play Black music. Can you imagine that? You got a record, they don't play it because they don't want it on the air. And you're being judged against a person who's not selling as well, but they get FM radio play.
Mm.
So when I see a Black record listed as 2 or 3, I assume it's the number one record in the country. Just because, and think about it, it's independently distributed, all of that. How did a company with independent distribution, how could it be number two when you've got a bigger promotion budget, bigger distribution and everything else? And they're like up on you. It's because they've surpassed you. But the same way we don't hear what really happened in Iran about our bases, it's the same thing. We're white. We said so. We say it's number one. You know the song Shop Around. Everyone knows the song Shop Around by Smokey Robinson. But the song that kept them out of the number one spot is called Calcutta, and you've never heard it. By a super racist band leader named Lawrence Welk. They didn't want to see a black person be number one. So we'll just list the white record. Trust me, if you were getting that call and you were asked, what's your best-selling record or what are you playing? Well, we're playing Calcutta. They never heard of Smokey Robinson, even if the record is selling. And Shop Around to this day is known everywhere. And they've had other people record Shop Around, right? Captain and Tennille took it all the way in the top 5 all over again. It's a good song. So the Jacksons is still dealing with, in fact, in the movie, you see him and he says, I want to be the biggest artist, regardless of color. I don't want to be told I can't be because of what I look like.
Yeah, he wouldn't take no for an answer, like going independent.
Yeah, but that's human. We often have to take no for an answer, or we feel we have to. So there are a lot of things in the way,
accept not my turn right now.
Right. So the Jackson 5, they had obstacles, and you know what? They had to remake themselves, and this happens with all the black groups. If they really have a hot streak, they'll change the sound of the industry to make a black act that's really good passe. When you think about it, the Monkees are still able to tour with the same old stuff. Chicago, you see these big tours they have. These white acts that really haven't changed their sound in 50, 60 years. And yet a black group has to consistently change or else be made obsolescent. You compare, I heard it through the grapevine, to Love Overboard by Gladys Knight and the Pips. What's wrong with Midnight Train to Georgia? They could do something like that now. It would work. But that's not going to get played. So it basically says, and that's the thing, going back to people who've never made a movie or participated, have no idea what goes into making it, choices that you have to make, your agreement with the theaters, how long the film can be, what you can talk about. Then you have to think about the audience. Will the audience sit through 3 hours? Right? So maybe you want it all, but, and you know, there is a black filmmaker for all of you. His name is Spike Lee. And Spike Lee makes fucked up movies because Spike Lee tries to talk about a million different things at one time to try to suit niggas that don't make films. Why can't one thing be good? They do a film on Freddie Mercury, basically a great sodomite rock and roll singer who spread AIDS to everyone. And they don't have to deal with 100 different themes. And black people are ego starved. You know, that's like, they just have to talk. You got to do everything all at once. We need maybe 10 to 15 films on Dr. King, Malcolm X, Michael Jackson, Harriet Tubman. White folk make lots of films about Elvis. Why does one person have to cover every single solitary thing? Who says?
Instead of appreciating the work, they want to think the work is incomplete.
Well, yeah, well, it's got to do that. I mean, You know what? That's between you and your man and your clitoris. What satisfies and makes all the bells and whistles sound. But when it's the film, and I took a little film study, the composition, the lighting. There was some cool idiot dude complaining about the CGI. Do you really think that the film Michael, could have had a chimpanzee scripted to act right for a movie? I mean, how are you? You wanted the representation of the monkey, you got one. Why did it have to be Bubbles? Why did it have to be a real chimpanzee? I mean, do you realize? I mean, can you imagine chimpanzee may throw some poop or bite or attack someone? You couldn't do that with a real chimpanzee.
Mhm.
You wouldn't want a real giraffe walking around. That may kick somebody. And a giraffe can kill you if they kick someone. Can you imagine them getting sued because a giraffe hurt somebody?
In production, giraffe just kick somebody, do something natural that the giraffe is going to do,
Yes,
and that
and
that'd
then
be a
then
dispute.
someone's dead, and you know what? They went too far. They didn't need a real giraffe. Then they'd be on the other side of it. It's a good film. There needs to be just a whole film on the Jackson Five by themselves. From Steel Town, their first record company, till when they did the Victory Tour, and look at the ups and downs of the Jacksons. That would be, and you could do so much with it because, as you know, the film didn't touch uh, uh, Heartbreak Hotel. It didn't have Lovely One. It didn't have Shake Your Body Down to the Ground.
Somebody asked the question: how do you feel about Joe Jackson? How do you feel about Joe Jackson was portrayed in the movie, and how do you feel about Mike had changed his face? I personally love the way Joe Jackson was portrayed. I love it. I mean, I just when
I have.
when you grow up with a dad, and I hate to say it like this, when you grow up around strong men in your home, it could be perceived as something that it's not when the father figure is there to instill manhood,
Yeah, well,
instill type of
he,
direction. He had a direction for his kids that he was not trying to go off of. So for me, Dr. Short to give you guys his answer, but for me, I absolutely love Joe Jackson. I thought he was great in the movie, the way he was portrayed.
I'm glad they didn't die in the street. I think I told you about my friend who I warned 2 years ago, last 2 years ago in March. I warned a friend of mine who was a native of Gary to get away from his friends. People were trying to kill him. And I says, if they get someone to kill you, they won't take your body to the morgue.
Mm.
And if they kill you, they'll let your body rot and decompose in an abandoned building. He laughed at me, and they found him in an abandoned building rotting following month.
Wow.
His name is Jonathan Booz. Look it up. Gary is rough. Some people have never been to Gary and spent any kind of time in Gary. People in Chicago don't mess around with Gary. And Chicago's a tough ass town. Gary is rough. Joe Jackson may have been brutal, abusive, and I'm not excusing it. The streets would have been even worse, sadly. They did get out of Gary. And everybody lived to at least be 50 years old. That's better than a lot of people in Gary.
Mhm.
Um, I was okay. I was fine with the portrayal of Joe Jackson. Was he abusive? Sure. But you know what? All these backstage parents are abusive. Uh, Judy Garland's mama let those people screw Judy Garland. Her mother let the mayor and these people screw her. When you're trying to go into that business, you open your children up to abuse. It's just that simple. Ask Corey Feldman. It's a very, very difficult, horrible business. Um, and that's just that. Now, and Katherine Jackson, I guess she could have done more, but how is she going to leave 11 kids? And this is a situation that you're faced with, that families are messy. I know my family's messy. And a lot of stuff I don't like about Joe Jackson. Uh, my dad had that too. That could be generational. And beating kids, that's how people dealt. I'm not saying it's right, but I will say, shit, I wish I had just been hit with belts coming up. I mean, a belt, I look at the
You know,
belt and I'm think it's bad, but I'm like, God, I would like a belt over water holes and extension cords. I said, people beat kids for just about anything back then.
I
Uh,
know a lot of people feel like it's a different time, but I grew up around a bunch of people that didn't even know their father, and you would be amazed at the impact of the masculine father in the home. And I know for people that did have the father in the home, they may feel like, oh, my father, he was very angry. He didn't smile. He didn't show no affection. You know, but like Dr. Short said, you got to realize what era this was. These men seen some things that they were just trying to survive, and they were trying to teach their kids just to survive. Like Dr. Short said, you got all these kids living in the inner city of Gary,
but
Indiana.
it's deeper than the inner city. By the time you're seeing the Jackson Five in the movie, the United States Steel or Bethlehem Steel, whoever it was, the steel mills in Gary had shut down. There was no
Mm.
work. There was nothing. The job that Joe had wouldn't have even been available for his boys. Gary is to this day a city on life support. And it's one of the most violent cities in America. When I was in Gary, I think they had one grocery store.
And I know it's far fetched for a lot of us that live in big cities. When you see, nowadays you see these Amazons, you see this. But we're talking about when you back then, one steel mill, and I live in Pennsylvania, so I know a lot of old steel mills. One steel mill literally is where everybody in that city work. So all it takes is for that steel mill to leave, and like Dr. Short said, the whole economy of the city would be
Yeah,
gone.
the city's tanked. But that's where they lived. His mother and father failed to make it in the business. The kids were interested, so he pushed them. Um, the problem with our young people is nobody pushes them. You can't push them as a teacher. One of the greatest ways to make certain that Black people remain slaves forever, and we're headed that way, is for people to be as lazy, stupid, and illiterate as we are as a collective. I can't push a student as a teacher to learn or read. I can beg them, but that looks weak. I'm a young person. This old person's begging me.
Now
So
you got to
we've
give
got
them a participation trophy for failing.
no. You give them an A because you'll lose your job if you don't pass people who can't read or write. Let them figure it out in an unemployment line or in a crack house or in a gang. That is a way of exterminating a people. And we think it's freedom. And the worst people are the mothers that won't even look at the kid's report card, but we're all up in the teacher's face. I was thinking about when COVID came, there was a mother in Baltimore who had never looked at her kid's report card, and they're like 18 years old. I mean, you can't even look at one piece of paper. Report card's not that detailed. That's part of what's missing is order and discipline. And by the way, some mothers do well, but a lot don't. A lot of mothers are failures, especially at raising boys. They may even want to be failures, kill a baby so they can get a new boyfriend, or let the boyfriend rape the other man's child to get back at him, or let him rape his daughter. Feminism has destroyed our community.
So the
And
brother
Black
asked,
women don't realize a large number of Black women are destroyed. I just have a poll. I should send that to you, Q, that American women have the most money of any woman on earth, and they're unhappy. 1 in 4 American women is on drugs to help them get through the day. That's pharmaceuticals. We're not going to get into weed, cocaine, and other stuff because they're so unhappy, because they're not like a Katherine Jackson where their life is holding the family together, being a mother. Folk don't know how to be wives, don't know how to be mothers, can't cook, don't want to
hey,
screw
Dr.
half the
Short,
time, even when they're
one of
strippers.
the brother asked a question, and I know you had discussed this with me on numerous occasions about the death of R&B. So he asked the question. He said, "Why don't you see any good talent anymore with Gen Z?"
Well, it's a combination of things. One thing I will say to you, whether it's emphasized or not, the Jackson family's Jehovah's Witnesses, not my favorite religious group, but people would have exposure to music, religious or sacred music, which is key. The Black religious institutions, churches or otherwise. You know, I had a song I was singing, Andre Crouch's My Tribute, yesterday for the 60th birthday of the pastor of a church my mother started out in Beltsville, Maryland. And by the way, it's an African church. And Africans, I told the pastor, love them. Your folks can't sing. That's why the young people who are from Liberia don't want to hear their elders sing because you guys sound bad. I was looking at how sad your musician was. I said, you want to build your church, I need to work on your vocal your vocal skills because they're lacking. You know, I had a cold and I could blow them out, right? It used to be expected. Doo-wop is from the church. Blues is from the church. R&B, it's all the Black American Christian religious experience. Sorry, Q, I can't see a goddamn thing that Islam, Buddhism, or any of these other religions that silly, foolish, ignorant niggas are into these days that have contributed to us culturally. It all comes from the Christian, Black American, Protestant tradition, and to a very, very slight degree, Catholic. So part of why we don't have it is people used to have some inspiration from God. We don't like God anymore. You got all these fake Negroes running around pretending that they're gods, and our communities are dying. I just had to send a hate email to this Jew, talk about a cash offer for my house. Our people have lost contact with God. It impacts the music. A lot of this music I listen to, it's dead. It's queer. It's vile. It has no soul. And by the way, Khazarians, or AKA small hats, who are not in any way connected to Christianity, they helped to create a dead, satanic music for Black people. So that's one thing is, folks, Black people don't know their damn God. They don't know their damn culture. Uh, they took the trades out of the school, increasingly in the late 60s to now, and they took music and art out of the school. So, I mean, everywhere in which you could have gotten, there used to be small black theaters, they're gone, lounges. So, where do you get it? You used to have black communities that would have fife and bugle corps where you teach young people how to play and march. All this stuff is gone. We've committed cultural suicide. Black people right now, we're basically dead as a people. I mean it. So our music reflects our spiritual death, our cultural death, and we got to get our soul back. Whitney Houston's from the church. Okay, every great Al Green's from the church, Sam Cooke's from the church, Little Richard's from the church, James Brown is from the church, Lionel Richie's from the church, Stevie Wonder's from the church, Diana Ross's grandfather's a preacher, Martha Reeves of the Vandellas' father's a preacher, Aretha Franklin's father's a preacher, even DeBarge, they're from the church. There's a lot of bullshit in malpractice Christianity. I agree 1,000,000,000%, but there's some very good stuff that comes with the church that's legit. We've thrown the baby out with the bathwater and shot the person that made the tub. That's where it went. On top of that, we're trifling. We don't attack radio stations for playing inferior music. We don't boycott. We just go along with everything. Black people become cultural sodomites. We don't even want people to put Crisco on their dick before they go in on us. Whatever they put out, like feeding a hog, we buy it and we say this is good because it's on the radio. That's amazing.
So I asked you last night, what was your favorite Michael Jackson song, Dr. Short?
Oh, God, that's not fair. That's not fair. And I could do pairs. So if I had to say to you, I'm going to cut off at Thriller because basically I don't think that he ever did greater than Thriller or Off the Wall. Okay. So I would do it like this. For Michael Jackson as a solo artist, my favorite songs for that period, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and Rock With You, and Working Day and Night. Although I like all the songs in Off the Wall. On Thriller, I mean, Just Give Me Billie Jean, although there are other songs on there that are good. Billie Jean, that's it. With the Jacksons, Shake Your Body Down to the Ground. And Blame It on the Boogie. Although there are other songs, I like all the songs. I'm just going to give you my favorite. From the Jackson 5, Michael as a Motown soloist, Got to Be There is my favorite song. For the Jackson 5 as a group, a lot of those are similar, but I'm going to say I Want You Back. And for the latter Motown, Dancing Machine. But they had lots of good songs, so that's the best I can do that. I couldn't tell you one. I can take out of a huge assortment. If I can have those, I'm okay. You know, I could accept not being able to hear the others for a period of time.
I told you yesterday. I don't know what it was. Maybe because being able to watch it on TV, that video. I just loved I'm Bad. I mean, Beat It. Beat It was just. To this day, I think about Wesley Snipes and Stoney Jackson was in the video. Just like
I love Beat It. Look, I tell everybody, Michael Jackson fan. I definitely was. I can recall getting in trouble, raging, dancing, playing off the wall in a hotel room, Frontenac in Paris, near Place de la Concorde, with an original Sony Walkman, blasting Michael Jackson in my room, and people complained. And I was throwing down to working day and night, right? I made noise and upset people. And this is what, 1983. But later that year, November 1980, this is a year prior. November 1982 was the month that they released Thriller. I bought it the day it came out.
I'm gonna ask
It
you:
was
Do
a
you
record
think he
store.
could have did film like big film because he had an eye for creating video, basically short films. I mean, I remember, like you said, Thriller. When Thriller dropped, it was like you had to tune in. He was dropping this video for Thriller, and it was basically a short movie, short film.
I'm thinking he did do a movie. He did The Wiz. He
Oh
did
yeah,
great in The Wiz.
he was great.
Okay, the problem is you had old ass Diana Ross who popped her pussy to get rid of Stephanie Mills. And so Michael is in the feature length film. He did fine. Michael could have done it had people wanted. The issue is who would you have Michael play? What would be ideal for him to play? And I'm certain that he could do it. Although I remember when they did the Bad Video and what's this guy's name? Edmund Perry, I think. The kid who goes to Philip Exeter, who tries to hang with his friends in the hood, and they hate him because he's going to the elite white school. And Michael would have had to have been a completely different person to act. I'm not saying he couldn't do it. I'm just saying it didn't happen. And in some ways, he was typecasted as a live entertainer, singer, genius instead of an actor. I wouldn't say he couldn't make the transition more fully, but there's nobody that could compete with him in the music thing in terms of what he was doing. So sometimes you do what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
I love the.
Oh, hopefully you guys, Dr. Short, he dropped for a second. Hopefully he'll be back on. But I see a couple people, Earth Angel Remix said Crossroads. Fred X said Human Nature. I don't know what it was about Beat It. Beat It was my favorite. That Beat It was, did it? I'm gonna ask you guys in the chat another thing me and Dr. Short had talked about last night. Did you guys have the glove? I'll never forget. I was in school. I had the white glove with the glitter on it, and for a play, we sung "We Are the World," and nobody could sing Michael Jackson's part, which was funny. Like everybody could do all the other parts together and do the chorus. Come on, Fred. What you mean you ain't had no glove or jacket, man? That jacket was serious, and even the jacket. You remember the jacket though, Fred? Who had the jacket? What TV show had the jacket? Let me know what TV show had the jacket, Fred. Spoons. Yeah, Dr. Short, you back.
I'm sorry, it dropped. I don't know why, but the movie was so good. I especially liked them showing the record business stuff.
So when
There
you
was a
had
lot of
when you dropped Dr. Short, I had brought up the glove. Tell everybody about your glove. You had one too, right?
yeah. I had gloves until the day he died. I had white gloves, and the day that Michael Jackson died was the day I put stuff in my storage unit. I put my Michael Jackson gloves in a box, and it felt so bad because I'd had those gloves for years. This is in 2009. I called a friend of mine and says, man, I felt like a friend died when I put my Michael Jackson gloves in this box in my storage unit. I figured I could let him go, but I didn't want to. He died that same day. Within 2 hours of me making a call, someone called me. He called me and says Michael Jackson died. I freaked.
Mm.
So we had the gloves. I used to have a cape. Some of us would go to parties and do the Michael Jackson. It was fun.
Wow. Well,
Spin around.
I haven't really been to like partying and stuff for so long, but let me tell y'all, his dance routines. I noticed that that's one of the things that I did love about the film as well, because he created what young people call pop locking now, and his dance routines. He would bring choreographers in, and he would be teaching them how to how to dance. When they supposed to be teaching him, where you guys that understand entertainment business, a lot of singers cannot perform at the same time. They just stand right in the middle of the stage. So when you get these singers who are multifaceted entertainers who can perform, put on a good show, nobody can mess with Michael. Like even that Super Bowl, y'all remember? He disappeared on the stage. You had people really thinking it was magic where he disappeared on the stage. So you put everything up in storage, Dr. Short?
Just the gloves. Just the gloves.
That glove, them gloves were serious.
And
Then you had you ain't have a jacket. You ain't had a red jacket with all the zippers.
no, I had the shoes. And I had a cape, man. And we'd spin around with the cape. That was cool.
Mm.
Do the Michael Jackson spin, but have a cape.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wanted to just, again, urge people to go see the film because they're trying to kill this man. And it's specifically same people got us off going to war for their bull are the same people attacking Michael Jackson. If you see a nasty review of a movie, look their last name up or look at who owns the company or the media group that published it. The critics gave The Devil Wears Prada 2, which I've already seen, they gave them a 78. And they gave Michael Jackson's film 39. I've seen both. I loved the first Devil Wears Prada. I think I saw it about 4 or 5 times. This new Devil Wears Prada can't touch the original. It's okay. I fell asleep. And look at how they brought it out. They want to remove Michael from being the #1 film. They've been embarrassed because the people gave the film Michael 97% of the people loved the film.
Mm-hmm.
The critics gave him 39. And the thing that gets me is these folks insist that this is a Black person, Martin Luther King, whatever. You have to bring out every negative thing they did or you didn't tell the story. White heroes, no matter how flawed, you never hear about their flaws.
Mm.
So why is it when it's as if you can't do a story on a Black man or woman unless you destroy them. And it shows a collective hatred for us as a group.
And Michael has made 423 million worldwide, and Devils Wear Prada has made like 223 million worldwide already.
Yeah, it just opened. But if you look at the last 3 days, not including today, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, initially, Devil Wears Prada, they estimated took in 32 million, round out $33 million. And Michael Jackson's film brought in I think 14 million. Okay. The next day, it dropped to, on Saturday, it dropped to 25 million. And I think Michael was just a few million behind. And each day, then the last day, it was 19 million. And Jackson was just a few million behind. So those are the two films that rounding out the top 5, even with Michael being behind The Devil Wears Prada, he's earning more money than the other top 3 films in the country, all of them combined, and often twice as much as all 3 of them combined. And prior to The Devil Wears Prada becoming the #1 film, from the Friday it was released up until Thursday of last week, the majority of the money being made in the box office by the top 5 films were all for Michael. And in particular, from Monday through Thursday, 80%, somewhere between 60 to 80% of all the ticket sales for the top 5 films were going into Michael, to show you how badly he's blown the other people out of the water.
Mm.
And they had deliberately held up giving the figures. They wanted the film to fail. You know, you can look at a thing called Box Office Mojo, and they used to just bring the receipts out and tell you. They started waiting like 2 days sometimes to release the information because they weren't happy. The film wasn't supposed to do well. They wanted to kill it. They want to kill him and they want to kill us too. I believe that when it hits Mother's Day, I hope that Michael retakes the crown of the top grossing film, because he was #1 in China, India, Bangladesh, Brazil, France, Germany, England, Poland, Finland, Slovak Republic, Czechoslovakia, Spain, Turkey, Italy, Mexico, Argentina, Iceland, Portugal, Denmark, Norway. He was #1 in like 80 countries, 82 countries at one time. But when you put China and India together, that's 3 billion people. And it gets released in Japan in June. It's going to get released next week in South Korea, where K-pop, it's going to do well in South Korea. I believe that Michael is going to catch up with Bohemian Rhapsody and perhaps overtake it. And you have to understand there's a lot of stuff going on that you're not seeing. The same way that Kugler's film, Sinners, shocked people. And part of what's happening is that, I'm going to just say it, the small hats aren't making films that people want to see anymore. And now you got black artists blowing out people who control the business to people that they've kept as basically sharecroppers in the business are now overtaking the masters. They never expected to have to compete with black filmmakers. They don't mind Spike Lee making 40, 50. When you start making $500 million, that's their money. And by the way, a black family is going to get a lot of that money, even if they are swirlers. A lot of this is to keep us down. So they don't want him to succeed. And it's the same way that they attacked disco. Do you remember when they were blowing up and burning the disco records?
Mm-hmm.
That was an attack on black people. It was association with black people that made them attack disco. Before they attacked disco, they had attacked the Jacksons with that name I mentioned, bubblegum soul, not really soul music. And I'm thinking, Never Can Say Goodbye isn't really soul. It's not really pop. I'll Be There isn't really pop. It's number one, right? All over the world. I mean, and so you'll find that there are people who hate whatever we do. But the film, you feel good. Didn't you feel good after seeing it? You wanted more. And I look forward to the sequel. I know that Michael, there's a whole lot of pedophilia. I came up around pedophiles are a particular way. And Michael Jackson has lots of nieces and nephews. A pedophile would have been messing with family. They would have been messing with everybody. You mean to tell me you had thousands of kids come to your house? It's just a handful that accused you? A pedophile has no self-control. All you guys need to start doing is looking at all these teachers and people getting busted at schools. They're not messing with 1 or 2 kids. They mess with 10, 20, 30 kids for years. A pedophile has no self-control. I mean, it defies logic that this man could have a bunch of kids in his bed and not touch all of them. Hundreds of kids come through, and right? And you didn't boink like at least 10 of them, and you could, and they're in your room. That doesn't make any sense. That's like putting you in a room full of naked women. I mean, you're not gonna touch nobody, and then you're a whore the next week for just one person out of 1,000. That's not consistent. There's nothing to a lot of what they're saying about Michael. And the people are, if Michael really gets restored from what they've tried to do to destroy him, it's going to come out that the Harvey Weinsteins, and they are pronounceably in one specific ethnic group, whose religious teachings teach that it's okay to have sex with children and babies. Oh, yes, it does. When your religion says it's okay, don't you think you do it? When this comes out that Michael wouldn't join the club, and that's when they turned on him, think about it. Think about that. Also, you asked me, and I just want to say to you, Michael Jackson had an opportunity to make movies from the best in the business, and something happened between Michael and someone he really liked, and then all of a sudden it stopped. I'm going to say what it is. Steven Spielberg and Michael were doing things together at one point, then all of a sudden just stopped. It never came back up. Spielberg, what kind of name is that? And all of these, and he's friends with David Geffen, a notorious omnisexual type person who has a boat and an island where he's neighbors To Epstein, I'm just saying.
I know you
When
were you
Michael
were you were go ahead, go
When
ahead.
Michael fell out with Spielberg, those billionaire type people in the community that no one can criticize, although they get to criticize everyone else, it's a hit. He broke protocol. Diddy and all these other people have had to get in bed and do all kinds of stuff with a specific group of people, and we all know who they are. Michael didn't do it, and Michael got framed. And I want to say one more thing, and I'll shut up, brother. There hasn't been one major Black celebrity, politician, or figure outside of Spike Lee that has said something nice publicly about this film.
That's what I
When
wanted
you
to touch on. That when you told me that.
when you see that lockstep groupthink party line behavior, which reminds me of 9/11 and COVID, same group of people who run the media and other stuff, people have orders
Mm-hmm.
not to touch Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they say in Hollywood, that you'll never work again in this town. Translation is, my people run this town. I simply need to call other people in my ethnic group and you're out.
And that's real.
And that is what is happening to this film. And that is what's happened to the Black music as well. I'm going to have to go in a second. So,
All right. All right, but I just want to tell the people in the chat, like Dr. Short said, he mentioned that to me before I watched it. And if you notice, you guys, the people outside of Spike Lee, the people who are talking about this film, us are the everyday people. We're talking about how good the film is. But when you think about it, none of his peers, none of what we call Black people in Hollywood are even speaking about the film. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Their mum's the word. And their mum's the word because they were told. They were told
if they
not to
want to
say
be in
anything.
that business, if they want to stay in that business controlled by a specific group of people, they ain't gonna say nothing. And I want to go further to say, if you've seen The Wiz, you saw The Wiz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same people attacked The Wiz because they didn't think people that a Black musical is worth it. Someone deciding what can and cannot be. Hmm? Someone who thinks they know what's better for us than we do. All right, The Wiz got destroyed. Someone destroyed The Wiz. They attacked The Wiz and talked about The Wiz so bad, so people didn't give it a chance. And it's amazing. We're still listening to people who hate us, telling us what we can like and what we can do. That's very strange.
So with that, you guys, just we want to just come on, give our review with it, and our review is thumbs up. Go check it out. Great film, great, great, great. Please go
Thank
see it two
everybody.
times, three times. Take your family, take
Yeah.
everybody to go see it, and give Michael his flowers. Give his family his flowers. His nephew did a phenomenal job playing them. Um,
Yeah. Or let's
he,
translate it to a younger generation. Give Michael his weed. Give Michael his bud. Give Michael his blunt.
yeah, and don't work with the ops against him.
Yeah. Just don't stop letting people that hate you and I tell you what to think about the rest of us.
With that, you guys take care. Have a great night, and We'll talk to you soon.